Affairs Research Council this week released a commentary about the upcoming legislative session and the budget. And the person who wrote that commentary is Melinda DeLatte, the research director of PAR. And the purpose of this was to give legislators just a reminder, a heads up of where we are, which is flush with cash at the moment, but we won't be that way always.
Right. And it was also just to let the public know how much money is out there. I mean, we're talking about some fairly significant sums. They have a $727 million surplus from the last budget year. They have $925 million from the current budget year that they didn't spend, that better than expected tax collections came in. Right. And then they are going to build the budget for next year when they come into the regular session in April. But the federal pandemic aid is sort of running out at this point. There is a giant fiscal cliff on the horizon in the next term. So we just want them to start thinking about the broader implications of what's coming down the line and just being smart in how they prepare for it.
So in this session or immediately, what is something that you would be happy seeing happen?
Well, we'll say, let's give the legislature a little bit of credit. The governor and the legislature have done some smart things with the short-term money they have. From PAR's perspective, we don't want them to increase the size of the budget so that ongoing regular expenses that they have to pay in the out years become a real problem when they start losing revenue. Because in mid-2025, there's a temporary state sales tax, 0.45% that was enacted several years ago now, falls off the books. So if they don't renew it, and we have no idea what they're going to do, and quite frankly, PAR has no position on whether they renew the tax or not, but if they're not going to renew the tax, and there are a lot of legislators who are running for re-election who don't want to, we think they should make sure that they're not growing the budget any further to worsen the shortfall when it comes later down the road, and that they should be doing some smart investments now with the money they do have, so when they have this shortfall on the horizon, it doesn't create nearly as big a problem as it could.
There was some drama about that sales tax even passing to begin with, but what a good thing that it did, right?
Well, so much drama. I mean, it took them almost an entire term in office when Governor John Bel Edwards first took office. It took almost his entire first term for them to stabilize the budget situation that they inherited from the Jindal administration. And so we don't want to see them get into that cycle of problems again. So, we want them to use short-term money and these temporary surpluses and short-term cash that they have for short-term expenses. But you could do things like pay down debt. The state has a ton of debts that need to get paid.
Right.
You can pay those down so those obligations aren't in the next term, which means they have less that they have to worry about paying later down the road. You can make investments in water and sewage repairs. The legislature has done a bunch of that already. We have a lot of needs. You can, who doesn't think we need roads and bridges to be fixed, expanded, new bridges, all of those things are smart uses of one-time dollars on important projects, but things that aren't going to be perpetual expenses down the line.
And a lot of that money is taken care of because it came from the Biden plan, the bipartisan plan, the infrastructure plan. You mentioned water, though. A recent rating came out of how bad water systems are in Louisiana. I don't know where you begin to try and fix that, but it needs to be fixed.
And that's the problem. I mean, you're talking about we have a few $billion in needed repairs and maintenance to water and sewer systems. We have a $15 billion backlog in road and bridge repair.
Right.
The congressional bipartisan infrastructure bill is not going to address all of that. We have billions of dollars in backlogs of college building repairs that are needed and state building repairs. There are so many things. Coastal restoration. We don't want the state.
It adds up quickly, doesn't it? Yeah.
Well, I mean, we don't want the state to wash away. There are so many ways you can spend this money smartly without increasing your expenses down the line while doing real good for the state.
So those are the things that concern you. What would you expect to see happen?
The one thing I would say is PAR has had some issues over the years with the fact that the legislature wastes some of this money on these parochial pet projects in their districts back home that clearly don't represent state priorities. So we hope they don't do a lot of that. But it does seem that so far the plan that has been laid out and the discussions that are ongoing are pretty in line with what we're recommending. The governor's budget proposal is supposed to be released to the legislature on February 17th. So we'll get a better sense then of where he's going and what the legislature wants to do.
And then you may come back with another commentary, right?
Oh, absolutely.
All right. And then you'll be right back here.
Exactly.
Melinda, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Good to see you.